waiting for broadcast.
Well, good afternoon or good evening if you're in the USA. If you're over in Europe, you should be in bed. But if you're not, thanks for joining us. And if it is on Wednesday morning in the Pacific Rim, so I am Bruce, aka Mr. Simpler, Faster, Better, aka the guy in the blue shirt. And we started a little bit late because of Bruce didn't have his act together on his iPhone. So I'm traveling. So the joys of live streaming. So I'm going to let Gracie and Rosalind introduce themselves. So, Gracie, why don't you go first?
Hi, everybody. I'm Gracie Ruth Melendez, a LinkedIn coach, trainer, and content creator, and I'm excited to be here.
Yeah,
Hi,
I'm
Rosalind.
excited to be here at long last, even though I'm late. All right, Rosalind, hi, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing well today. Thank you for having me on the show. I'm Rosalind Henderson, and I am a sales trainer, particularly for women. And we deal with sales mindset and just upgrading skills. And it's wonderful, again, to be here.
Awesome. So you're based in Los Angeles County, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. So I know Gracie Ruth is over in Alhambra, right, Gracie?
Right.
Yeah, and I am normally in Canyon Country, but I am sitting in my hotel room in Seattle, Washington. How about that?
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, already done a full day with a client, and the joys of technology to be able to do this wherever we're from. So talking about technology, we're also going to talk about collaboration. So why don't you guys give us a little bit of background how you first met and how we all came to become on this live stream, because I don't think a lot of people still really understand all the power and the reach that good collaboration can have when you team up with the right people. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you guys met and what you've been doing in the last year or so?
Right. Bruce, you mentioned when you team up with the right people. Back in early 2019, I attended a networking event where
Uh-huh.
um, Ross was one of the attendees, and we started talking, and we hit it off right away. We had so much in common, and that's how we started. That's how our conversation and our relationship started, and it has grown. And I'm so grateful to have met her.
Mm-hmm. So, what was your common ground? I'm just curious. What did you think, Rosalind, when you first met Gracie? What was the common ground that you had?
Well, first of all, she's a really warm individual and,
Yep.
caring individual. That was just uh, obvious. And secondly, we're women in business.
Mm.
And when you find a good woman in business who is as caring and helpful and want to see you succeed as much as she wants to succeed, then that gravitated, I gravitated towards her
Mm-hmm.
because that is a great spirit that you want to have in collaboration, is that you want to see the person succeed just as much as you want to succeed. That's
Right.
key.
Right.
So, I'm curious why do you find it helpful to focus on the ladies in business, Rosalind?
Well, that's the season I'm in right now.
The season. I
And what
love
I
that.
and what I do know about women in business, especially as it relates to sales, and that's my specialty, is that we've come into this world
Mhm.
conditioned,
Business, Rosalind.
and we're conditioned to be compliant. We're conditioned to be invisible. We're conditioned to make the other person smile and happy for a sense of belonging, and that's all well and good when you're young, but as we come into our own as adults and
Mm-hmm.
we're pursuing our business, sometimes those traits get in the way of us standing up tall and
Right.
saying, this is my product, this is how much I'm going to charge, and would you like to sign up?
Right.
That's the arena that I really, really work with a lot of women with, because the way I see it, sales is pretty much reflective of your self-worth.
Right, absolutely. So it's kind of interesting. You should say the compliance word. So I was brought up, Gracie knows this, in an all sisterhood. I have 4 sisters and a mom and a grandmother. So I was super compliant in terms of the sisterhood back in England. So, and it's interesting because you learn to survive, and I don't mean that in a negative sense, but I was the only guy in that arena, so it was a very different set of communication processes, and there were certain days and certain times of the month when I just didn't say anything. I needed to be invisible, and you mentioned that. So so I fully understand the invisibility and the compliance thing. But I'm kind of curious. You say that selling is about self-worth. I like to think of selling as, if you service and do the best service you can, no matter what it is, then I think that is, to me, that's the foundation of being able to help people with the right service. And as a result, then that will eventually turn into sales. So what are your thoughts on that, either of you?
Well, I actually agree with that. And I like to look at it this way. I see it as a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of us are pioneers, and we're helping people solve issues in novel and different ways.
Right.
That I'm providing is transformation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm providing, so I like to use that word transformation. And as such, I can be compensated for that.
Oh, sure.
So that's what I mean. That some of us in our female psychology, not all women, I'm sure I'm not saying that, but some of us don't give ourselves permission to be adequately compensated for the transformation that we always, as women, are making transformations in people's lives.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
that's the thing that I'm highlighting.
Yeah. I like that Rosalind said we always providing transformations, and that's true.
Yeah, I think it's I try not to be too gender biased. I would say that, like you said, if you're in business and been in business for a while, I mean, hey, look what the last 2 years have taught us. If you can't transform, you're not going to be. Number one, it will drive you kind of crazy, right? And number two, it's not very healthy if you can't transform. And I think, a lot of people, there's a lot of negatives with COVID, but I think there's also been a lot of positives where it's pushed us, kind of, people like me that were fairly secure in my little nest. It's pushed me out of the nest and taught me that, hey, you got to go fly again, Bruce. Otherwise, you're not going to transform anywhere. You're just going to wither away in that little comfy nest of yours, right?
Yes.
Right. COVID has taught us a lot of things to a lot of people, and we have learned to adjust and adopt and learn new things.
Yeah, adapt and adopt, absolutely critical skills. So a great soft skill. I don't know if you teach that in some of your sales or service processes, Rosalind. So what are your thoughts on adapting and adopting?
Oh, that's just a tool for life. To be able to absolutely, to be able to adopt. And my philosophy is always continuously growing. Right. Sales is an art form. And,
yeah.
I was a former teacher for 30 years. Teaching was an art form, which means that there is no end in sight. There's always ways to upgrade our skill levels and to become more of an expert and therefore be more impactful. And it requires that we do constantly change, that we constantly adapt, that we constantly adopt when necessary. But it's always to get to that level, that higher level. And that's where our eyes need to be.
Yeah, I always say to people that a lot of what I do, which I think is, even though we have different processes, it's still a process. It's what I do, and I know it's what Gracie does. It's where science and art come together to create this wonderful collective creative output. And that could be, creativity in terms of how do you solve somebody's problem with something, or how do you fill an opportunity, right? There's been a lot of opportunities for growth in the last couple of years here for pretty much everyone on the planet. If you wanted to grow, then it's out there for you to grow. So,
Right.
cool. So, what are you seeing? What are you seeing on the positive side? So, Gracie, I know you and we have regular chit chats about all the positive things that we see going on. So, what's the most positive thing you see going on, maybe for the next couple of months here ahead, and then we'll get the same answer from Rosalind.
That people know that, because of COVID, people are more aware that we have to be connected,
Mm-hmm.
even though we're not physically face to face, but the need to collaborate, to be connected, it's fundamental.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how soon we will be able to have gatherings like we used to, but
Right.
in the meantime, meeting through Zoom or like to this StreamYard live show, it's a great way to, come together and collaborate.
Yeah. It's kind of a collective cohesiveness. I think there's a lot of C words there, but yeah, it's about the communication, right? And how much reach can we all create now with technology tools? But I know you and I are like, we prefer to meet in person, hands down, anytime, every time. If we can meet in person, then let's do it, right?
Right.
So, Rosalind, what do you see going on in your sphere and next couple of months ahead on the positive front?
Well, I'm still thinking and chewing on what's gone on during the pandemic and what we're going to walk away with as new citizens of the United States. I think we'll never be the same again.
Oh,
And,
absolutely.
and I think that what Gracie mentioned is very, very true, that for survival's sake alone, that we need to amp up. We need to
Right.
learn the lessons and amp up connection. We need to make it intentional. We need to schedule it if we need to. And I'm looking at collaboration and connection in a little different way. I've also been trained by two psychologists who really have underscored for me the importance of building resilience
Right.
through regular connection. And that means getting on the phone, getting on Zoom, meeting in person, doesn't matter. But
Right.
that we begin to make that a once a week thing where we're having, a couple of phone calls a week where we're being vulnerable with each other. We're sharing the great things about ourselves and where we need help, and to be quite frank with you, I think the word resilience is one of the main features that you get out of connectedness.
Right.
And as an entrepreneur, to me, with the ups and downs of being an entrepreneur, one thing that has kept me steady is the fact that I'm blessed with a number of people with whom I can get some wisdom.
Right.
And they're a container for me. They're listening to my emotions. They're not judging me,
Right.
and that they're in my corner. So that's what I'm spreading, that message, and I'm trying to live that message.
Right. Well, it's real interesting because your definition there is some of the attributes when I try and share with people. Well, what's the difference between a meaningful connection and just any connection, right? And for me, those meaningful connections are the people that you do build that repetitiveness around being resilient with each other, and also not being too afraid to share when things maybe are not going as well as you would expect them to be. And so so having that empathy, right, being a empath leader or more of an empathetic leader is surely it's become a global challenge, right? The globe is never going to be the same, and the ones that are willing to step up and adapt to that and be kind of more of a global warrior in terms of that meaningful connectionness is, I think that's super critical as well.
Absolutely. I think people are hungering for authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
And real talk.
Yeah.
Had to be accepted as they are, and still hold standards. We still have
Yeah.
to hold standards for behavior and getting to the goal, but people need that more than ever.
Sure. Yeah, it's kind of I don't know what, I know Gracie and I have talked about being real and sharing stories, because Gracie helps me tell my story. So I am so grateful that I met Gracie to help me tell my story, and she encourages me to be even more vulnerable and personable about my story, because it's deep and wide and jagged at times. So been
Yeah, and people get to know who you are as a person, not just I want to, not just your products or your services.
right. Yeah, in fact, it's interesting because I think if I look back in the last couple of months, kind of like you, Rosalind, it takes time to kind of ask yourself, well, what have I learned through this process? And I think my greatest learning, and Gracie's encouraged me and helped me, is to, don't be afraid to be more personable about, what you are, who you are, what you like, what you don't like, and don't hone in on my passion for making things simpler, faster, better all the time. So even
Yes,
though I can't get rid of it, so
yes. And people, I believe, are attracted to that. They're
mhm.
attracted to the 360 of you. All of you, not
Oh, I
just the
like
fact
that.
that you,
The
not just the fact that you
360.
sell this, but they want to
Mhm.
know. Oh, there goes some pictures with Bruce and his grandkids, or they love that. They want to be able to relate
Yeah.
to you.
Well, I've had the opportunity to have to dig through some old pictures, and again, Gracie encouraged me, just show them. So we've been doing some
Mhm.
been doing some storytelling around that. So I tell the story, and then Gracie makes the story look way better than it is. So,
That's what she
but
does well.
Yeah.
oh, that's her gift. I mean, my gift is coming up with the processes. Hers is figuring out how to make them look more presentable to others, right?
Right.
Yeah. So,
Right.
Gracie, as you know, I can't look at the comments at all. I don't know if we've had any or anything. Are you
No,
able to?
no comments at all.
All
No,
right. Well,
no,
maybe because we started late, but
probably. But I like to mention that Rosalind has a very good program where she teaches sales, and it's not like not like your typical um, sales scripts to be a pushy car salesperson, but it's she changes your mind. It's a
sure.
mindset change. So it's not just, I wouldn't call it a sales script. I would call it working on your mindset,
Right.
part of your sales approach.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know
Well,
what would be the right name, Rosalind, but I really
No,
like.
no, that it definitely is a part of it. I mean, it's broken up into three chief areas, and that is skill building by handing or having people create their unique templates for their presentations. The second part is mindset, because that's really, really so much of it. And
mhm.
thirdly, I give them a safe place, the participants safe place to practice their sales presentations so they can get feedback and see where they're great and where they need to improve.
Yep. Yeah. So that's kind of my I was saying earlier about that's my service kind of approach, and it's funny because once you get into the right pattern, and once you establish that trust with somebody where you can communicate openly, I actually find it's in the power of the questions that, if you get the opportunity to get, face to face with somebody, even if it's through the computer screen, but make sure you start asking good questions, right? And
Mhm.
then after you've asked the question, I tend to talk too much. Just shut up, right? Wait for the answer. Wait, and pick up upon what people say and how they actually portray what they say as well, right?
Right.
Good.
That's
So
great.
no, go ahead.
No, I was just saying that that's so great because in the question, it's really, to me, respecting the fact that that person oftentimes
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes has the answer.
Yeah.
By asking the right questions, we're drawing out the answer. I am so big on self-awareness and building a life and a business out of self-awareness, that I totally agree with you. It's about the question. Of course, there's times when I have to consult and direct, but oftentimes, but the basic parts come out of who are you? What you're all about? How are you made? What are your values? What's important to you? What's your passion?
So this might be a good segue. So on our live conversations, particularly on a Tuesday, Rosalind, I don't know if Gracie shared this, but I try and do a couple of fast tips, and then what Gracie does with the fast tips, and we can do a fast tip about anything, but she then takes the live stream and chunks out a minute or so from it, and then we post that on a Monday. So I've started this Monday series called a fast tip. So I guess my question would be, what have you seen as a couple of fast tips for helping people, like ask the question and then shut up, as it were? So
that's your fast tip. Mine would just simply be just about self-awareness. To make that a daily practice, and not I kind of know myself, but we can get in contact with ourselves through journaling, and really asking ourselves questions on paper, and being surprised that the answer will come if we sit with ourselves.
Right. Well, that's kind of interesting you should say that, because as Gracie knows, what was my post about today, Gracie?
It was about Bruce created a journal, a fast tip journal for men.
Yeah, called a Fix It journal.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
Fix It journal. I know, and I had no idea we were going to go on this conversation. So people always think my lives are set up, I think, but this is absolutely natural, unscripted conversations. Yeah. So so Gracie, why don't you give your fast tip on, how to ask the question and then shut up? So what would you say?
Well, coming down to the same journaling, a few years ago, a friend of mine and I started journaling as accountability partners for 21 days, and to get direction, because I was a social media manager doing all sorts of things for Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, jumping all over, and I wanted to focus on one, but at the time I was, should I do this? Should I do that? So she and I, we started journaling, and sure enough, as you go journaling day by day, I came to the conclusion, or I heard my intuition tell me, focus on LinkedIn, and that's why I'm doing LinkedIn. Yeah.
Wow, that was a smart move. So yeah. So the other thing I would say, if we continue with the topic of journaling, what I find is, at least a lot of guys that I work with, not so much the ladies I work with, guys are not so good maybe at journaling in the way that a lady does. And I'm trying not to be gender biased, but I think it's just the way we're wired. So what I started doing, and actually it was Connie Medina that helped me, who helps me with power coaching from every now and then on Clarity, is she actually sent me a little book, and I started to record my accomplishments. So, more bullet point type, but I started to do that daily. And what I found is through that, so my fast tip, if you want to practice on how to get going with journaling, particularly if you're a guy or more male orientated in your thinking, because you don't necessarily have to be a guy to be more male orientated in your thinking, is just start to record your accomplishments. So, and they can be little bullet points, and they can be, tiny little accomplishments. But what I found is that if you do that daily and then do like a little recap at the end of the week, it's pretty amazing how many accomplishments we can actually get done. And it kind of gets you into the power of writing, right? Rather than writing on the computer, I mean, writing with a pen in a book, right?
Yes. And that's very powerful.
Yeah, there's something, it's almost I don't know, you get a feeling between you and the pen differently than I do between me and the keyboard. I don't know if you feel the same as well, but.
No, I totally like the feel of the pen on paper.
Right.
Can I give another suggestion?
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, go ahead. And then I want to come back. I want to give a shout out to a guy called Paul, who is a pensman. So I'll come back to that. So.
Oh, just another journaling tip is I don't think we need to put any type of restrictions on ourselves. But sometimes, you know, it all depends on what season we're in. Sometimes it's a wonderful way, wonderful way to start writing down our self-talk, writing down our limited beliefs,
right,
and then to refute them with reality, to refute them, because when you take thoughts and you put them on paper, there's something about making that concrete that you begin to realize, well, that's not really making sense. And then when you start putting reality next to it, it begins to diffuse and dissolve emotions in that mindset. So that's another way that you can use journaling in a very effective way.
Yep. And actually, I'm going to give a couple of shout outs. And actually, Gracie knows Paul Fleming McCulloch. He's a pensmanship. He's a fellow Brit. And he actually has a collection of really nice pens. And he loves to talk about journaling with his really nice pens. Or he writes a pretty good meme blog. So I don't mean mean I mean mean in a good way. He's a really good writer. So if you want to go see some really good, well-written blogs with a real pen, Paul Fleming McCulloch, who's a connection of mine. And then back to your seasonal thing, Rosalind, it's really interesting. Hallie Avolio actually was a key person in my thinking around this whole Fix-It journal, because Hallie actually was a live guest recently, and she has a journal called I Am. And little backstory on that, she also deals with in affirmations, which is part of the I am process for her. And so she's a big believer, and she does some really amazing affirmation stuff on her TikTok channel. So yeah, just taking the words off the page and reaffirming them or dispelling them is a pretty good tip as well, for sure.
And it almost sounds like you're releasing the bad thoughts or the negative things, right?
Releasing the bad juju, you mean?
Well, you know, anytime we have limited mindsets, there are emotions that oftentimes accompany them, you know, like shame, anger, fears, self-doubt, insecurity, all those things. So you're releasing, you're allowing the truth to kind of cleanse your psyche.
Right. Well, my guy is he's negative. He's called Chipmunk Charlie. So he goes, chee, chee, chee. You know, he's always in my head giving me a hard time. So so I guess through my accomplishments, my positive voice is a guy named Alexander. So what I found is that by writing down the accomplishments, even if I don't do any more extensive journaling, what it's done is it's given more time in my head for the positive voice, and not Mr. Chipmunk Charlie, who always gets on my case about, you know, shoulda, coulda, woulda. Oh, you know, you honked that up, Bruce. So, you know, Bruce, you were late to the live. Oh, Bruce, you know, you're not going to be able to figure this out on an iPhone. I mean, Chipmunk Charlie was having a field day for the 6 months before we went live, for sure. He was driving me nuts. It's like, leave me alone. I just want to figure this out. But we got there. Yeah, we got there. All right. So I'm a little tight for time. I'd love to continue with the dialogue. So what are the best ways for people to reach out to you, Rosalind? And again, if you're seeing this as a replay, you can put in your comments still. I will add it to the feature section on my page after I can find a computer to do that with. So
really appreciate that. Gracie, can I ask you to put my full name in the chat, please?
Yes.
If you don't mind doing that. So
you mean the comments or
in the comments? Because if you notice, it says Roz. I need to really.
I put in the comments your complete name.
Oh,
Yeah, thank you.
okay. Yeah. All right.
So you can
Yeah.
find me on LinkedIn for sure. Definitely, I also run a Facebook group. I'm helping entrepreneurs double their income. So you can find me on Facebook under Rosalind Henderson, and of course
You're
you
a
can.
You're a YouTuber, I think. Don't you have a YouTube channel or not?
I really don't spend a lot of time on that, to be honest with you. But yes, I am on YouTube. And you can always contact me if you want to set up some kind of Calendly chit chat. You want to have a chat with me.
Sure.
You can find me, and here's my email, Gracie, RosalindHenderson1@gmail.com.
Oh, that's pretty easy. You're the number one, Rosalind, huh?
Yes, I am.
Not that you're too confident or anything, right? I love it, Rosalind. You go for it, girl. Be the product to the product. That's what I always say. If you can't be the product to your own process, then shame on us, right?
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, gotta bring the good juju yourself, right?
Right.
Thank you so much, Gracie.
All right. Okay, so Gracie, I know one of your hashtags is the LinkedIn lady. So what else? How do people get a hold of you to learn more?
They can find me here, or I'm gonna put my Calendly here also if you wanna find out what type of content makes you stand out from the crowd, so I can help you with that. I'll put my Calendly here.
Yeah, Gracie's good at making you stand out in a cluttered, crowded place, which, I love LinkedIn, but it has become a cluttered, crowded place. There's still lots of opportunity, but there's also a lot of really good people making unbelievable content out here. So we're spoiled for choice, lots of people to go support and watch, and lots of new shiny things out there to go follow. That's for sure. So yeah, it's overwhelming if you allow it to be overwhelming, for sure.
Right.
Cool. All right. Well, people know me as the guy in the blue shirt very often, so that's one hashtag. My preferred hashtag is what I'm very passionate about, which is hashtag Simpler, Faster, Better. I'm also at Simpler, Faster, Better on TikTok. So I'm playing around with TikTok, where I actually do tips as it relates to my passion for IndyCar racing. So that's where come full circle. That's where the idea for also sharing fast tips on LinkedIn instead of doing it every day, Gracie and I came up with the idea, well, why don't we just do it once a week? So the fast tips I like to take from real life conversations, from real life people, because that's the definition of authentic, right?
Right.
Being
Absolutely.
real live, the good, the bad, and the not so good, right? Or the good, the bad, and the ugly as the movie went, right?
Yeah.
Well, cool. All right. So Rosalind, so is Rosalind aware of our LinkedIn local efforts as well, Gracie?
I'm not sure. I send out the invitation to everybody. We're having a LinkedIn local virtual,
right,
via Zoom on Thursday, July 29 at 11:30 a.m. So that we can network, we can learn, prosper, and grow, and make new connections.
Absolutely, yeah. So I loved your comment earlier, Rosalind, about a safe place. It's a safe place for people to venture into because we can't meet in person yet. And unfortunately, with those of you that don't know, they put the mask mandate back in place for Los Angeles County, which is a bummer for a lot of people. But hopefully, we'll curb the excessive growth infection rate again, but we'll see. But yeah, our goal, Gracie and I's goal, is to get back to in-person LinkedIn local networking again, because we both love it, and that's where we see the strength of what we can pass along to other people as well. So, but we'd love to have you join us, Rosalind. It would be fun to have some new energy in our group. It will be awesome.
Oh, I would love to attend.
Yeah.
We'll talk, Gracie.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you know how to reach her, right?
Yes.
I think so.
All right. So for those of you that are watching this as a replay, don't be shy. put in your questions or comments, even if it's boo-hoo. You know, we don't mind. We're big people. We can take on board a few boo-hoos here and there, right?
Right.
All right. Well, I'm going to finish up the live. If you ladies could hang on, and then I'll let you know where it will appear on my page. Thanks, everyone. Good night. Good morning if you're in the Pacific Rim.
Bye.
Good night.